Now, when it comes to being happy, Denmark is the place to be. People there consistently top the polls when it comes to being content. But is the secret of their happiness all down to the way that Danish children are brought up? Jessica Alexander thinks so, and her new book, The Danish Way of Parenting, is full of tips on how to do it like the Danes. We'll be talking to Jessica shortly. First, though, here's a quick guide to parenting Danish style. Well, so many questions to ask Jessica, who is with me now. I've literally been inundated with people who want tips from all over the building. Good to have you with us, Jessica. This is such a sensitive topic, though, isn't it? How we parent our kids, because there are so many things that influence it, whether it be our own families or culture as well. But do you think people in other countries have just got it wrong? What are the Danes doing right?
I don't think so. I've lived in several countries, and it was precisely from seeing the different kinds of parenting styles that that people do, and how much they believe that's the right way to parent, that really made me see my own culture and recognize that the Danish way was something very special. My husband is Danish. I've been married to a Dane for 15 years, and
what was the key thing that struck you, the key difference?
Well, first of all, I was struck by the children in Denmark. They're so calm, they're so serene, they seem so happy. And I said to my husband back in the day, I said, if I can get a guarantee I'll have a Danish child, I'd like to have children tomorrow. Because they're just really, you can see it in the kids in Denmark. So when I had my own children and we started to implement the Danish way, you know, I saw the difference. And then the happiness reports came out again and again and again. And I just put two and two together and realized it must be the parenting.
Jessica, how much is the parenting? Because I've been to Denmark as well. And how much of it is it the country? Because they've got this fabulous welfare state, people get good maternity leave, the benefits are there, the holidays are long. It's not just the parenting, it's sort of the whole package in Denmark, surely.
Sure, of course that has an effect, absolutely. But for example, I don't live in Denmark, and I'm using the philosophy in another country. And so many of our readers and the parents that are using this are seeing the difference in their kids, even in places where they don't have the system. So I really believe it's a philosophy that makes happy children despite whether they have that.
So what's the first thing that you say to parents? What's the key change you often suggest?
Let them play more. That's something they do in Denmark. Since 1871, play has been considered an educational theory.
Free play, not
free play, no parental interaction. Kids are able to choose what they're doing. And I think these days we've become so into over-programming our children that they don't have that ability to run their own lives.
Do you think they almost have too many options? We provide kids with too many choices.
Yes, and parents have too many options. We're stressed out trying to get our kids into all of these things, and the kids get stressed out from that. Whereas in Denmark, that's very strange to think of over-programming a child's life. And so they allow them so much free play. And while we see now all of the results, the research shows that free play, it teaches children empathy, negotiation skills, it teaches them coping mechanisms. I think because we don't see measurements of it, it's difficult for us to believe that they're learning.
So I have a question for you about ultimatums. You say no ultimatums. I found a well-timed ultimatum can be quite a beautiful and successful thing.
Right. No, yeah, I understand, and that's a difficult thing to avoid. But the interesting thing to note is in Denmark, it's a language choice. So they just don't immediately go into those power struggles. And the problem with the power struggle is when it immediately becomes I win, you lose. You know, sometimes it's the parent that ends up losing in that battle. So ultimately, by avoiding always going into these power struggles, you can get really good results.
Reading the book, one of the things that struck me as well, these are lessons not just for kids.
No.
You know, you could take these into a boardroom, some of these lessons as well. Is that something that you also
Absolutely.
see, that Danish kids carry this stuff with them into later life, not just parenting.
Definitely. I mean, you can really see it in adults, and I think the book is very much for not just parents, but for people. You know, it's a lot of people say this is not just a parenting book. It's a philosophy that can affect you as a person.
It's so lovely to have you with us. So great, in fact, we're going to ask you to stay on. Jessica's going to be with us in the next hour here on GMT. If you've got a specific question, do contact me on Twitter. I'm at Lucy Hockings BBC, and we'll put it to her. See you again soon. Bye-bye.